Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining. It's 7:01. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:01 and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Stretch the legs. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Dee Dee, would you mind taking a brief roll call for us, please?
Sure. We have Kate Beaupont, our chair. We have Megan Wicks, Kathy Grant. I do not see. Valerie Musciano is here. Christopher Wilson is here. Arika Kalwara is here. And Scott Paul is absent. Okay. And also with us is Adam Burrows, Mr. Lloyd Johnson, and Amy Sevelo.
And Dee Dee Jackman. Well, thank you all for joining the Zoom meeting. It's kind of a fun meeting in the sense that it is year end and there are graduates to think about and an end of school to celebrate, which is great and a very challenging year. So looking forward to this one for a while. We don't have any citizens comments at this time, right, Dee Dee? Okie doke. At this point, I will, just as I've been doing, just state the mission statement before we get into our normal order of business. The Voluntown Board of Education's mission is to provide our students the skills essential to reach their highest potential in a safe environment for learning as they aspire to become responsible, respectful, and civic-minded members of society. We commit to help educate, challenge, and inspire each child to excel as lifelong learners who can adapt constructively in an ever-changing, multicultural, and technological world. Okay. That we don't have any guests this evening, so at this point we can move along to the consent agenda.
Kate?
Yes, yeah.
One item, we need to add basketball enrichment summer school coaches to the agenda.
Okay.
And that would be new business under 8.
All right. Can we have a motion to add the summer basketball assistants to the agenda?
Yes.
Arca, second.
Supervisors.
I will second.
Thanks, Megan. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will add that to item number 8, new business. Making a few notes here. Great. Okay, item number 3 is the consent agenda. Was there any comments on the consent agenda or discussion for it? Do we have any motion to accept it as presented? Chris, second, Arca. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving along to item number 4, the administrative reports, beginning with the principal's report. Hello, Mrs. Cepoletta.
Hello. There wasn't much updated in my report this time, just noting a couple of the things that we had wrapped up. We wrapped up our SBAC testing. All of our high school students have finalized and completed their high school selection process, which also entails some of the sending schools coming to us for placements for coursework. So we've allowed them to come in. They came into our library or into our, for the bigger NFA group, they were in the gymnasium and they did their placement testing. We wrapped up our track season right before Memorial Day. They played against Sterling. So they went up to Sterling. They ran a full track meet to the best that they could. And then the athletics department took them to Econ Kill for ice cream afterwards, just because they had waited so long to get back out and play as a team. So it was great to have them be able to do that. PTO had sponsored the One Book, One School, The War with Grandpa. And so our entire school, K through 8, read the chapter book together. They had a weekly question. They played to win a prize of an ice cream on Fridays. And then this week we will wrap up and watch the movie tomorrow. The PTO is sponsoring popcorn for our students to watch the movie. So it'll be a great, great for them to kind of culminating activity in that piece. Some of the things I didn't note in the report, which I just think are pertinent now, is that as we wrap up this school year, so we have graduation on Monday. The weather looks iffy, so I'm not sure if it might have to be moved to Tuesday. We'll see. It's a close call. I don't know which way to go, but we'll see this weekend what it comes out to be. Our 8th graders, we planned for them 5 days of fun this entire week. So every day they had something different. They had their own field day, which actually is tomorrow. They hiked Mount Misery earlier this week. They did their yearbook signing one day. They'll watch The War with Grandpa. So we've had something for them every day. We also had one of our parents sponsor a pizza truck for them to come, and they had that this afternoon. And they shared that with our 7th grade. So we hosted more of a moving on and moving up kind of ceremony for them. And they each got to, they got to, have that. Because 7th grade also is a big year for kids. They get to do a lot more things and they just haven't to this year. So they got that this week. They've had lots of treats. So everything that you would have done throughout the years now into this 1 week that they've gotten. Our PTO is donating cupcakes for them next Monday for graduation. So we had quite a few things for them to have and kind of celebrate their transition on. They also went on NES, which they went 2 different days. Each classroom went. We bussed them down. So they went to the New England Science and Sailing, and they had 2 outdoor days there. So they've really had, a good end of the year, more what they're normally used to. And as far as our other kids go, what's happening now is because field day, we didn't feel that we could do 1 full day with all of the equipment we have. So what we're doing is we've split grade levels up so they get a field day for 2 hours, 1 select day, and then our specialists are going outside during their specialist times and doing activities with them. They're doing things like karaoke and Jeopardy and obstacle courses, scavenger hunts. So that way then they kind of get that mix also. So we're trying to really, push that. It is the end and it's fun and they've worked hard. So hopefully the weather cooperates. That's the only downside to being outside all the time, the weather cooperating. But all in all, it's been a great year. And I think now the kids are just excited that they get to do all these fun things and be outside and they don't have to wear masks and just be part of being, back in a normal time for school. So, we'll wrap up next Thursday is our last day, 12 o'clock dismissal, 12:20 for car riders. And somebody asked me, well, what would you want kids to do this summer? I said, nothing. Just go out and play, just go to camp, just go ride your bike. You don't need to be on the computer. You don't need to be, those are the things that kids should be doing over the summer. And, requiring them to do work and all these things sometimes when they're young is, it makes them not like school. So having them get out there and do those things. We did have one great opportunity happened with Plainfield, and I had sent this memo out in case anybody's listening, that they're offering a camp for students, but they're offering it to Voluntown and Canterbury also, and they will pick up our students in our parking lot to attend day camp. So, in your area, there's not always those options. Where I live, there's the YMCA. I can drive 10 minutes and go there and bring my kids. But this is a great opportunity. They are looking for Voluntown kids. They're going to pick them up and drop them off right in the school parking lot. So it's just something that YSB is so generous in that they are offering scholarships, you know, and they just have to contact Melinda Bryan if someone's in need and would like to send their child to one of the sessions. Just need to contact Melinda, and she can work that out for them. So that's kind of, you know, what's happening at this point. And, you know, we're just wrapping up the year and kind of trying to move on from this.
Thank you for that. I'd like to briefly add, in March, we all saw the antics from the CEA with their commercials about why they couldn't go back in school. The teachers here in Voluntown, our teachers came in October. So did the lunch staff, the paraprofessionals, custodians, transportation, all got together with this singular purpose for educating the children of Voluntown in the best manner possible, with none of the antics we saw in March all over the airwaves. And I really want to thank every single one of you, from Adam to everybody else I mentioned, and anybody, the professionals who come in, for just putting all the nonsense aside and getting together during this COVID and working to educate the children of this town. And what you folks accomplished, I don't think anybody else did in the state. And it's just an amazing thing to see. It's amazing for our children here in town. And I want to thank every single person who participated in that in any way, because what you guys did was nothing short of amazing. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good summary of thanks, because on behalf of the board, I think we all very much appreciate it. And that's a great testament to a job well done this whole trying year, this crazy trying year. So, Director of Student Services, Dr. Johnson.
Good evening to everyone. I'll keep it brief.
Hello.
Our department is planning to continue to offer our meetings, our 504 and PPT meetings, virtually as well as face-to-face. We will endeavor to encourage parents to come in face-to-face for the more heavy-duty meetings, I guess I'll call it, the initial evaluation meetings that may result in identifying a child in need of services, and then the triennial meetings that happen every 3 years. Our consulting psychologist thought if we could push that, it would continue to help continued development of our relationship with parents, so that they can see the body language and the expression the teachers are having as they share their reports and things along that line. But at the same time, we do want to offer our meetings virtually. We're finding that more parents are able to attend. In the past, we would have perhaps one parent at the meeting most of the time. More frequently, we're able to have both parents attend, like a meeting that I had today. The parents happened to be out of state doing a project, and they were able to both participate in the meeting on their child. Summer school plans are completed. We know who we're going to be servicing. And it was really one of the things that I like about this job is to work with a team of people to develop good plans for kids. And we had a meeting today, and we have a student that's going to be spending half of the time in the special education portion of the summer school and half of the time in an enrichment experience, because this particular person has a love of art. And I think being able to do that kind of planning for children who need summer services is really just wonderful. All of our transition meetings between our 8th graders and the schools that receive our kids are completed. I actually have only one PPT left, and that's next week. And by that one being completed, the total number of meetings that we chaired in my office this year were 181. Again, I want to also join Chris in complimenting the staff and Amy on a job well done through a very trying year. Participating in the reopening committee was a wonderful opportunity to see how we can all work together to make things work here. And under Adam's leadership, people are involved, their opinions are respected, and anyone that we think could play a role in helping with an issue gets invited. And it's just been, from my perspective, a really good year. And I want to thank everyone for helping it to be that. And any questions? My presentation is complete. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you for everything you've done for the children of Voluntown through this extremely trying time. I mean, you know, as we say, it's not been easy for everyone, but you've taken you've always really praised the idea that we can keep moving forward despite all the challenges, and you've taken technology and ran with it and made it a blessing for, the families involved in the, given with what they've had to deal with. So I just appreciate all of your encouragement and ability to adapt, and then see the positives in the face-to-face engagements, as well as we hopefully look forward to those again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no questions for Dr. Johnson, we can move to the superintendent report. Mr. Burrows.
Okay, well, before we go on, all of the decisions that we made as a faculty and staff were decisions that flowed from the Board of Education priorities. So it was at these meetings that you set the tone to set things in action. And there were decisions that you made back in March of 2020 as the pandemic started. And it was helpful in organizing for the year. And because of the board's decisions, we were able to put things in place with speed and efficiency, and also we kept you updated. And the community doesn't know it, but this package for the board is well over 170 pages long, and the board receives a lot of information about what's happening within the school district. And when we make decisions, we like to keep people informed. So thank you to the Board of Education. At this time, I'd also like to say, Amy and Lloyd, I think that the agenda that we have, I can handle that with the Board of Education. And I know that you've both been extremely busy with the end of the year activities and other things. So it's all right with me if you needed to, leave. I'll tell you, if I have to, if I need your opinion on something, I'll give you a call in the meeting and we can bring you back in. But I think that there's a lot of standard decision-making items that we have for the rest of the agenda. Okay, so.
Okay.
They're both going to check out very quickly because
you don't have to tell me twice.
Busy.
So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, this has been a time when we've been receiving things fast and furious. Our reopen committee yesterday, we had some 54 pages of information to review that came out since our last meeting. And we have not scheduled a reopen meeting in July unless it's needed. And hopefully we can make it to August. August 11th is the back to school meeting with the Commissioner of Education and the superintendents. And I told the committee that if we're going to do something, it might be mid-August as far as the reopen committee. And there's going to be a number of directives that come from the state. One of the first directives that came in just a few hours ago was a note. We thought that the legislators were going to allow us to have in-person meetings, but they, Kate, maybe you better explain it because you received the memo too. I thought that this would be our last online meeting, but I think that we might need to continue while the legislators are making decisions. So our July 8th meeting may be online again. Kate, if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, that's how I got excited because it was almost, the clearance that we could do it how we wanted to do it. And you had choice between hybrid and all online or in person without having to have a lot of technological videoing of things and live streaming if you were all in person. So basically back to normal. But I think that there hasn't been full passage of that. So it only got through half. Didn't get through the Senate. So I think we can take that, for a different conversation later in the meeting, what we want to do. But I know that we really would love to be all in person. It's just technologically what we can feasibly do to make sure that it's available to everyone.
Okay, now for information purposes, for my report, I've given you my schedule and calendar for June and July and actually into August. The monthly enrollment report is there. Again, for the last 4 years, we've been holding our own with high school enrollment. As a matter of fact, we have more high school students this year than we did 4 years ago. And then for the elementary total, it was 253. And 4 years ago, it was 281. We have been having some new registrations. I wanted to also report that thus far this year, we've returned $84,374.54 to the undesignated fund of the town. There is also a letter of welcome, copy of a letter I sent to Ann Michaud, a new director of transportation coordinator, and she started June 1st, and she's been working with Terry Chanette, going through a transition and getting ready for the next school year. There's also a letter acknowledging the resignation of Lynn Ducharme as a van driver. There's a memo in there from Sacred Heart University announcing that Melissa Miller will be a student teacher at Voluntown Elementary School this fall. And then there's a lengthy there's a summary of a CAPS letter to the General Assembly with proposed bills on the education cost sharing. But later in the meeting, the legislator in the recent legislation, they're holding us harmless, so we will not receive the $87,995 cut in our ECS grant for next year and the following year. And I know that was a concern, especially to the local taxpayer. Also, in my section were policy highlights for you to review from CABE. They always come up with a number of issues that we may be faced in the future, or they have suggestions for policy updates. And that is just for the board information. There is also a CABE liaison newsletter talking about upcoming webinars and other information that's available. And I just want you to know that a few days ago, I received verification that our School Readiness Council has been awarded a 21-22 grant of $198,000 to help pay for the greater portion of our preschool program for 3- and 4-year-old students. And as noted, the grant is written for 44 students. And we do everything we can to maintain an enrollment of 44 students, because if it drops below that, then the grant is decreased. And to run the program, we would have to move money from the Board of Ed budget. So that's the approach that we used. And of course, I just told you, and about the holding harmless for the education cost sharing grant. This past Saturday, we had a special event at school. There was a cleanup and there was mulch distributed and other things. And NFA students, a team of students visited, and it was coordinated by Andrea Kelly, who's at VES, and also Jay Bukalis from NFA. And so they had a great time. If you notice the mulch and other things around the school, it really looks nice. I gave you a copy that was added to the packet that really talks about Connecticut monthly learning model. And it compares, we got our own report for Voluntown Elementary School as compared to the state. And it just talks about the monthly figures for full in-person, mostly in-person, hybrid, mostly remote, and fully remote. And the comparisons for the state are quite significant. We have, since November, we've had the greatest portion of the students have been full in. And as Chris was mentioning earlier, we made every effort we could to make sure, to make sure that we did everything we can to encourage full in-person learning. And then the other two charts talk about the Connecticut absenteeism rate and, comparing the state with perfect attendance, satisfactory attendance, chronic absence, and then zero attendance. And again, our numbers, showed that we did hold our own with attendance. There was one thing that our attendance from 2019-20 to 2021, we had, just a slight bump up with the number of students that might have been absent, but there's some more figures that are coming out. This is a bar graph, and I sometimes like to have the percentages in a column to compare, but we did well in comparison to other school districts within the state for attendance. And then the final document that I included in your packet was a New Haven Register edition titled Super Salaries. And I just thought the Board of Education would find that very interesting. It not only gives the salary of every superintendent in the state, but we also had our pictures in the report. So I found that to be interesting. And as you note, in comparison of the different counties, the average superintendent's salary in Windham County is $174,442. And in Fairfield, the average salary is $253,312. And you can just go through that just to get a verification of the differences in salary. Of course, there's about 20 communities that have part-time superintendents throughout the state. And with the Superintendents Association, I was chairperson of that group for a few years. And then we passed that on to another person. But the superintendent's salary is based on a formula, and I cannot make any more than 225% of the highest paid teacher times 45%. So my salary is limited by some teacher retirement board rules and regulations. If I go over that, then my pension with the state is affected. And just for historical purposes, this is basically my 16th budget in Voluntown. And as of June 30th, I would have completed 54 years in education. And the last 15 and a half have been part of Voluntown. And It's been truly an amazing experience working with our wonderful students, community, and other things. That's my report, Kate.
Okay. Brief ending to that, but yeah, thank you for, it's good. It's interesting to kind of see the span of what the state, just especially the different counties and regions, and you get a flavor for, what's in there. And we understand that the districts are large and they're massive. They could be, there could be high schools, multiple high schools involved and whatnot, but and seeing more locally close by, the comparisons are good as well. And just to see how many, like you said, how many are doing that, the hybrid model of, how they either share a superintendent or use, retired superintendents like we do. So
yes, and Amy mentioned the SBAC testing. We did do that this year, and of course, we've been running annual reports. We hope to get those back in the fall, and the board will be able to look at that and to help make some decisions about student curriculum and activities based on student performance. So it's all part of a sequence of events in the decision-making process.
yeah, on that note, I think that this is just a different year as well. So, not all students, not all schools are testing and not all, I think we're fortunate that we had a pretty typical year for our students for the way that they could go to school and be tested and have assessments and stick to the programs that the teachers and evaluators are used to. So that will be interesting. Are there any other questions for, hi, Chris.
Yeah, you brought up testing. I think next year when we do testing, I would suspect that we will see our children in Voluntown outperform most other districts just because they were here in school. And I wonder if when our students go on to high school, if they're going to have to be in classes where other kids are catching up to a level where our kids at. And if maybe we lost a whole year for a whole group of kids in the nation, but particularly for our purposes, the state and for Voluntown. It's just something I've been mulling over, and I didn't really explain it very eloquently. But
No, you did, Chris. As a matter of fact, when we get to the ESSER 3 grant, I have some comments about just what you're saying and how we're going to address, quote, learning loss and a couple of other things.
Great. So with that, we can move on to old business if we're all in agreement to move the agenda forward. So item number 1 of old business is the 2020-21 and 2021-22 budgets.
Okay, we're basically closing out the this year's budget. We have made use of every penny within the 2021 budget. And I see that we've made it through another year without having to go back to the town for additional funding. And I think that's a significant achievement. And the Board of Ed allowed for some adjustments in our spending plan that have helped us, because there were some things that we purchased at this point that saved, future budget increases, and that was important. With the 21-22 budget, I just copied what we passed out at the town meeting, and everything is set, and that's what we're going to have for our budget for next year. But it's just for informational purposes. Of course, this is the 5th, basically 0% budget that we've had, so 5 years in a row. Okay, I have a couple of things that the board needs to review. First of all, the foreign language teacher. We've been advertising, and school districts have been having a tough time advertising and finding a foreign language teacher. And at 6/10, we received no applications. And just recently, there were some changes. A recent decision determined that a special ed outplace student has been successful. And this decision was made just this week. We'll be able to return to Voluntown Elementary School. And so in keeping with our approach for spending plans, I believe that this gives us enough money to hire a full-time, to advertise and hire a full-time foreign language teacher. It doesn't affect the bottom line of the budget. As a matter of fact, the cost is an increase, I think, of $22,700. And the tuition saving that we had was much, much greater than that. So in keeping with trying to utilize the existing budget, I would like the Board of Ed to authorize the superintendent to adjust the 21-22 budget or our spending plan to reallocate or transfer funds to account 1,111 for certified salaries for the purpose of creating a 1.0 FTE foreign language teacher position. And this will not, cut other things. This is just based on some savings that we have. And the board, of course, based on the spending plan, has the authority to go ahead and do this. And quite frankly, if we did not have those savings, then I'm not sure I could have moved funds around to cover this. So this is a request for a motion.
So Adam, I just have a question about that. When we had talked about the foreign language teacher being shared, there was an amount of money that was being paid for
The other school district, Valerie,
by both districts.
Yeah, the other school district did advertise, and they found a retired teacher for 0.4 for 2 days a week. And then there were some budget issues, and they're not able to proceed with this unless there's some changes within their budget process. So we've been looking at towns that could share, and I truly believe if we have a chance to set this in motion, then if we hire the 1.0, this actually gives an extension into some of the other grades as well, and gives us somebody here every day of the week. And I think that this would help. But there is a shortage, and I just hope that we can find somebody.
So my question was that they were absorbing part of the healthcare in this plan where you're saying we can absorb a full time. That's everything, including the healthcare that the other district was absorbing.
Yes, we are okay because we put the health insurance in our budget because it was required, because it was our 0.6 teacher. And there might have been a contribution that school district could have made if that came in. The money would have been sent to the town. But this proposal doesn't. The health insurance is already in there, Val. Yep, thank you.
That's great. I'm 100% on board because you know that I've wanted this since I started on the board, but I just didn't want to have any surprises later on, where we hadn't discussed something and now we have to look at it. So that's great news.
I think hiring one will be not as difficult as other districts just because of the reputation this district has amongst their. Erica, you may lose a foreign language teacher at your school once Adam advertises here, frankly.
I know, I was thinking about some of the cuts we had to make. I'm like, let me go back and do that and take a look.
But please, I want the public to know that we did, reduce staff with this budget proposal. So, this is a readjustment, but we have less staff than we did last year to get to the 0% budget. But thank you, Chris.
Well, I think it definitely is, if you advertise for a full-time position, I think it increases our chances of inquiries and interest
Yes.
versus a part-time. I really do. I think it ups our percentage of hiring somebody if we advertise for full-time.
Oh, we'll probably poach somebody from another district who sees and go, oh, Voluntown.
Well, I think on that, I'm going to make a motion that we proceed with the 1.0.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Arica, a second? Okay, a motion's on the floor to authorize the superintendent to adjust the 2021-22 budget, right? Yeah, okay. Of our spending plan budget to reallocate the funds to for the purposes of creating a 1.0 FTE foreign language teacher position. Are we all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. I think that's just, I think we'll find a good solution there. Okay. Is that it for the budget items, Adam?
Yes.
And item number 2 of old business, COVID-19 reopen committee update.
I gave you a sample, I think, of the agenda. And just for the budget, I just recognized there's just a summary report of 8 years of history of the health insurance. And I just wanted you to know that even though the premium increased by 2.68% from last year to this year, this 21-22 budget is $281 less than we're spending this year. So, and that includes the insurance for the foreign language teacher. But I have to tell you that changes are constant in health insurance. But I give you the 8-year summary report so that we can just look at trends, because that includes what's budgeted and what the estimated amount is. And of course, for this year, we budgeted $643,000, and we actually spent about $625,000. So, there were some savings in the health insurance, and I'm sorry I missed that. And then moving on to the COVID-19, I just gave you a sample agenda of what the reopen committee reviews and looks at. And my only comment is, and Chris mentioned it, and other people have mentioned it, that we were successful, and that committee helped guide the process, and then the board made critical decisions. So we're down to the final days of school. We're constantly reviewing how to wear masks, not wear masks. We're opening things up very carefully, and we expect that we will continue. And if there is any changes in COVID-19, then this committee will make sure that we guide the process. And of course, we share what we need with the Board of Education so that you can participate in that process. Kate, you're on the committee. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
My only comment was it was nice to hear from Patrick McCormick, who's director of the Uncas Health District. He did pay tribute to our team, the committee, and the support that we gave him, as being a team member on that committee, as a whole, that we work together, that he's been on a lot of these committees, obviously, throughout, this trying time. And it can be a bit of a cluster because of, different inputting members that just use it as a forum, to complain and not work out issues. So he applauded our efforts, and I thought it was kind of him, and it made, our team feel appreciated for the work that we've gotten done. So I just wanted to share that with you all, that, it was appreciated on his end. And my personal experience, it's just, I've just been so proud of the folks that are in the building every day trying to keep our kids safe and bring up the important parts, but not hamper, everybody's got no time on their hands. So it was really helpful to work efficiently, but consistently.
Kate, now that you mentioned it, it might be nice if the board would take a motion to send a letter of commendation to Patrick McCormick, the director of the Yonkers Health District, for his active participation in our reopening committee and helping guide our process to keep VES open throughout the school year. And I think that documents that we did keep the school open and we did utilize valuable resources. If a board member would like to make that motion, and perhaps Kate and I could send a letter to Patrick thanking him and with a copy to his board so that they know about the contributions that he made.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Great suggestion, Adam. I think that's it's a very valuable tool to really showcase what a valuable resource he was. I mean, he was on call all year long with our staff, our nurse, everyone that was involved with with any question, just even a question, not even a real case. It didn't even matter, a fever, and he was on call. So I just, we really are so lucky to have a partner in that front, because, the health of our community and our children were at stake. So. And
then,
all in favor. Okay.
And then just as a comment, I think we can write a letter of thanks to the committee members, because that committee met for 21 straight weeks during this time, and then they were able to go bi-weekly, and then this last time it was by the month, and the contributions were really incredible. So we might do that. We might just write a letter of thanks.
Okay. Item number 3, the ARP ESSER 3 grant. Safe return to school and continuity of services plan.
Oh, yes. Just to, in the packet, there was some information about the ECS grant, and that packet came out last week, and it just mentioned that we were getting the cut. And then this week I was able to inform you that we aren't, the legislative vote to not give us the cut. So you have some information about the list, but that list is not the updated one that went home, what was included in the packet. With the ESSER 3, this is a very interesting grant, and we have 5 areas that we're going to use for funding, and we got a total of about $367,000 to use over the next 2 years. One of the conditions of the grant is that you need to write a continuity of services plan for our school. And quite frankly, I believe this is 26 pages long, and it has a lot of information about what we're looking for as far as a continuity of services for the building.
It gave me nightmares from July of last year.
And so,
why are we doing this again? Oh, but yes, it's needed.
So one of the things that we're required to do is to receive community input. And of course, we wrote, well, I wrote like crazy about 2 weeks ago, and we got this in so that I could at least get a rough draft to the different people. We shared this with the faculty. We shared it with the Reopen Committee, and now the board members have a copy of this. But the requirements of the grant, they want you to document that you've sought community input as far as how to expend the funds. And the funds are for learning acceleration, academic renewal, and then student enrichment, family and community connections, social, emotional, and mental health of students and school staff, strategic use of technology, staff development, and the digital divide, and then building a safe and healthy school. And just before the meeting, Tracy Hansen called me and she said, I need to use the school for a community conversation. And I said, is this about the continuity of services plan? Because the town also got federal funds. And she said, yes. And I said, I'll tell you what, perhaps we can do a joint meeting of the selectmen and the Board of Education and go over the two continuity of services plan. And I certainly have a number of things that I will be listing in the grant. The grant is due by August 16th. And we already had some things that we had talked about. Of course, one of the big things is social emotional health. And we had talked about this in the past, and it's a 2-year grant. And I believe that, we can supplement some of our funds in the budget, the school psychology section, and rather than hire consultants for all of that money, we could divert part of it to hire a school psychologist, and for the next 2 years, allocate funds from the ESSER 3 grant for a school psychologist to work with social emotional health. And of course, we have to pay attention to the drop-off in funds 3 years out. But I do believe that there's some attrition, perhaps retirements and other things that will allow us to reduce staffing and to follow our trend of being able to maintain stability in the budget. But that's one of the things that was important. As far as a safe and healthy building, you'll notice this past week that schools were dismissing early and they were concerned about the health. We were full in. Our building is air conditioned. We used COVID relief funds to finish off the classrooms, and we'd been working a little bit at a time over the last several years, but we had a major upgrade. So we wound up having our kids in school all day, and the classrooms were very comfortable. The one area that we need to finish off is the gymnasium. And you've been in there for meetings, and the noise from those air handlers is something else. I feel like I'm competing with a jet engine when we have meetings. But if we were to work with the ventilation system, and we could use federal funds to upgrade that would be an expenditure that would improve the building and not, use local tax dollars, because it would be years before we could find the money to do that. There's some other things that are happening, with our grant fund, and but we would have to go ahead and talk about that in a community forum. And also, there'll be proposals for addressing learning loss. One of the things that we would want to implement is an after-school tutoring program for students. And that could run for the next 2 years. So if there's students that do need some additional academic support, we could use these federal funds for doing this. So you can see there's a number of things that we would be able to update. Chris, you had a question before about the learning loss, and that's one of the primary concerns of this grant. And as we go through measuring learning loss and doing things. I do think that, these funds can help us have 2 years of, supplemental support that might be needed with any learning loss. So that's where we are with the COVID, with the ESSER 2 grant, ESSER 3 grant.
Well, Adam, of course, I might be a little biased, but hearing about the school psychologist makes me, very hopeful, because I think a school psychologist can wear many different hats. And one of them is, of course, providing SEL, social emotional support, along with consulting with teachers with that achievement gap and identifying where there is possible learning losses, along with also handling assessments that we no longer have to contract out. So I am very happy to hear that that's being considered. So thank you.
And there's another sidebar with that, as far as, a special ed program. They just talked about bringing an outplacement back into the school. Well, if we have the services of the school psychologist, that, I think, expands our capabilities of being able to bring back perhaps an outplacement or two, and those are tremendous savings, as we just experiencing. But it's all a balancing act, and some years I can remember a year where we brought back 5 outplacements, and we saved $100,000, $112,000 in the budget, and we hired a teacher within inside of 2 years. All of those students were really doing quite well. So anytime we can bring students back to VES, then that makes a big difference. So there's more to come with ESSER 3. And we will be coordinating. I think it's a good idea to have a community conversation with the selectmen. And as you know, years ago, I wrote a grant, and we had a community conversation from one of the state foundations, and we got a grant for about $1,500, and we fed 100 people that night, and then they broke into subgroups, and that's what we used to develop our strategic plan. I'm not sure that we'll feed people, but we have a format that we can use that would allow people to know the items that we want to review and gather their input. And I think it would be kind of fun if we could have a meeting in the gym and then break down into smaller groups and come back and report back to each other to develop what we think are priorities for not only the town, but the school district.
Yeah, I think the community involvement is going to be key. And I think it's, this, if anything, that there's any silver linings of COVID, it's really brought our community together to share opinions and thoughts and skill sets, people that have medical backgrounds and education backgrounds and social work backgrounds have been real resources for us. So I think that's a good opportunity for us going forward to continue those networks. Okay, well, thank you for that update. Moving to item number 4, it's we have one policy. Wow, it's amazing. Policy 0523, the equity and diversity policy, 4th reading. You all got a copy of the latest draft. Both Meg and myself went through and made some edits to it just to kind of streamline it a little bit. It was definitely clunky and repetitive in parts. So we felt like just needed some scrubbing. Happy to open.
I read good. No, I read through it. It sounds good. It reads well. Yeah.
Any other feedback or edits?
Do you make a
Oh,
motion?
Yeah, I don't think there was really much content change on it. It really was just streamlining and taking out some of the redundancy, I think.
Yeah, no, it reads well now, smooth.
Yeah, I think the only outstanding item for us, you know, for the thought of going forward from an implication standpoint is the idea of setting performance goals, you know, adding this to a performance goal element to kind of make sure that the achievement gaps are being closed and really monitoring that, which I think, you know, I think we do that anyway, but it's just within the lens of this as well. So making sure that, you know, whatever comes down the pike in terms of how we would do an annual assessment of that, I'm sure we'll get more information on that. So do we have a motion to approve it as presented?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Chris, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries to approve policy 0523, equity and diversity as amended. Or as presented, rather. There was no amendments. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Megan, for joining me on the edit. Sorry.
No problem. Anytime.
If we can
Thank
get
you,
in the
Dee.
room and just,
Thank you, Dee Dee, for taking my scratch and making sense of it.
You're welcome. You guys made it easy. It's all good.
all right, item number 5, evaluation of the superintendent of schools for 2020-21.
I request a motion to move this to discuss this in executive session.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries to move the assessment to the executive session. Okay, moving on to new business. The item number 1 is the evaluation of the Board of Education for 2020-21. I'm gonna really, I mean, this whole thing of like the 2020, 2021, I have a full year to talk like this. So just be prepared. I'm going to mess it up.
They go by quickly. The only thing that I want to recommend to the board is this is a first reading. And, you know, I included a sample, the first draft in this meeting, but generally speaking, we review it at the July meeting, and you have it in your hands. You can review that. And if there's any suggestions, certainly, you know, send something into Kate or myself, and we might update that prior to the next meeting. But this is something to document your accomplishments, and it talks about the accomplishments for this year and what the priorities are for next year. So any suggestions you have, and quite frankly, I think the list of accomplishments really speaks for itself, because this is the backbone of what happens in our school district, as I mentioned before. That's all I have to say about that, Kate. So unless we want to just say, you know, review at the next board meeting, unless board members have comments right now.
Yeah, no, I'm. There's so many different levels of it, which one we were talking about, but I did like how you pointed out, you know, just noted COVID, you know, elements of how COVID impacted each element, you know, each individual subject matter. I think that was appropriate. So I was glad that was included in all of them. You know, it was really an important thing to stress. And the cost saving efforts, but the grant applications, I think that was a highlight that you made point, you know, you pointed out, which I thought was important, because that was, you know, it was not that wasn't lost on anyone, that we really did improve our school through a lot of hard work in applying for these grants. So, but yeah, we can table to the next time if everyone wants to, you know, if they have anything specific, maybe do you want to share it with myself or, Dee Dee, you can send it to me if we want to make edits to it for the second.
Or send it to me directly, okay?
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
because I'm the one that's editing that.
Okay. All right, to Adam, if there's any specific edits, but I didn't have anything major on that one yet. Okay. So item number 2 is aligning with the Board of Ed goals.
Yes, it's important that the board approve this tonight if possible, because we use the board goals and next the administrative goals in informing the faculty what the priorities are. And in the past, you spent some time writing the first 8 goals. The 9th goal is new wording: support effective strategies to maintain the health and safety of our educational community in meeting the challenges of COVID-19, as well as follow all state and federal guidelines based on, and here it is, the safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services template to secure State Department of Ed American Rescue Plan ESSER grant funding. And that's an important role that you'll be playing over the next year. So I think that's significant. So there's a couple of little edits there, but if it's at all possible, if you approved it now, that would help us in putting our packets of information together. Usually we do the board goals in April so that we can get ready for the next school year. But there's been so many things going on. It's like, don't blink, the years pass by.
The only comment I had on this, and I think I say this, I know we've talked about this with our mission and our goals and all of that stuff, is I generally like to see about fostering an environment of accountability. So if we could maybe even just incorporate that into one of the existing goals, I just think, we talk about accountability for ourselves, for the staff, faculty, everybody. So if the board, I think that's a big thing when you're working with children and the community, and of course, faculty and staff, something good to strive for.
I'm looking for a place to put that in, Megan.
Megan, I think it's in item number 1. I know we mentioned it last year. It's the last statement, the foster of a climate of accountability.
And yes, that says
this one, but I think we added it.
I
Okay, all right. I was going to say, I could
wrong with the
added
sound.
it. It's a number 1. It's a number 1. Sorry, can you hear me?
Megan, you're going in and out on the sound. I'm not sure what's happening.
I think she said it was okay because she saw on the first one.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Okay. So, and if we add a little statement based on available standardized testing, if we ended it with those words, Megan, would that be the language that you would like to see? I mean, we could add a 10th goal.
I think she is fine once she saw it in 1, Adam.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
We'll let her say that. We'll let her say that.
Okay, and I usually like to see 1 or two readings, but we're catching up. That's where we are, and these goals would be placed in the packet for the teachers, and this is related to their teacher evaluation system.
Adam, are these goals reviewed every year? This is done every year? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I think my only add to item number 1 was to add the word equitable after concentrate on equitable student achievement, because we're working towards that based on that last policy.
Number 1.
Who was that?
Unequitable. Yes, okay. Are there any other suggestions?
I just think, based on what we've been discussing in our mission statement, I think that item number 7 is really important. I think that if we're all in agreement based on our thoughts of having a very, global mindset and diverse, focus on, appreciation of a diverse population, I think that seeks to maintain a school climate which all school community members feel secure and valued. I think that says it all, right? We don't need to
Okay.
want the perspective there that we feel that says enough right now. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to clarify number 8 to meet the academic and social emotional needs of the student. I don't know if that's necessary, but if you want to add a little more detail to number 8.
Meet the academic, okay.
Mhm. And social emotional.
Academic, social, emotional. Okay. Any other suggestions? These are very helpful.
I'm comfortable for now. I know we do look at this annually, so it's a good.
Yeah, that looks, now those changes, I think that looks all encompassing, We can always review it next year too and add and adjust as we go.
And we are implementing from last year, we're implementing the foreign language and updating our library to, enhance the STEM resourcing. So achieve some of these, which is good.
On number 4, about the budget, working within the severe state budget reductions. I wonder if we should include language to properly use the taxpayers' funds in some ways, because we're locally funded here.
Yeah, well, it's funny because they don't have a severe state budget, but while working within, I would put the word potential severe state budget reductions, because the head of the finance department for the state legislator has already said 2 years from now, the old formula is going to kick in, and that I don't agree with the formula that they're using for Voluntown, period. So that's going to be a legislative thing that we're going to have to follow. But state reductions to our town you want to say something about the taxpayer, right, Chris?
Yeah, mindful of burdens placed on the local taxpayer.
Adam, Kate and I actually added, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Kate and I actually added some language to, was it our code of conduct, Kate?
Yes.
That said about, there was a piece in there about the community, basically keeping in touch with the financial challenges that face the community and things of that nature. You might be able to copy and paste that right in there to capture that.
Okay, so Chris, is that agreeable with you with what we can take a look? So, you know, financial budget reductions to our town while working within the potential severe state budget reductions. And
I think it was something along the lines of being mindful of challenges facing the community.
and be mindful of the impact on the local taxpayer. I think I got it. Okay, there's some language in the budget document too, Chris and Megan, that gets to that with the impact of the local taxpayer. I like the word mindful. Are there any other suggestions? Let me, because there's several little changes, we're going to have to put this on for the next board meeting and do a second reading. And I'll talk to Amy. We'll send this out to the faculty as an addendum to the packet that we send them at the beginning of the year, okay? And the teachers, as you noticed in the italics, we're required, the board is required to set goals, and this is an integral part of the annual teacher evaluation process in our school district, which is regulated by state statutes. So the state requests that the board set goals.
So I think this goes to the administrative goals after.
Yes, we've been
BOE goals.
working on these for years, but we just had some updates. But this also goes in our beginning of the year packets. And as you noticed, you know, educational leadership programs, professional development, community relations, personnel relations, business infrastructure, and students as the focal point. And again, you know, Amy, Lloyd, and I updated this, and this can be a first reading. So if there's any suggestions you have, but these are what we give to the faculty as far as our priorities for, you know, goals.
Well, under education program, do we need a description now of a foreign language teacher?
Good pickup. Yes, thank you for approving that. So education program, okay.
Yeah, I know I harp on this, Adam, with a lot of these different variations, but I didn't see the COVID elements to it. So I don't know, I mean, it's broadly speaking, but if you could pick through where it makes sense.
Yes, this was, these were items that we usually, as I said, deal with in April. And I'm just going to put a notation down for COVID, and I'll see where I can blend it in with its similar things that are in your annual self-evaluation. So I'll just put some wording. Are there any other topics that might be included?
I mean, just aligning with the equity and diversity, you know, policy. I think there's some of the broad statements there that could, if you just want to take another pass at this, you know, with that COVID update. And I was just, you know, if there was, I think it was just promoting hiring diverse talent, you know.
Diverse talent, okay.
That was the only thing I caught from that. I liked students I think the student as a focal point down there does speak to COVID-19. So that was good.
Yes, it's a little bit in there.
Yeah.
I might add a statement about full in.
Good.
You know, and to build on the successes of being full in. And then the learning loss issue.
Under students as a focal point where it says social emotional needs, did you want to mention the possible school psychologist there?
Not until it's approved,
Okay.
but that can be something in the background. Possible social school psychologist. Let me see if that can fit in, because that's a good suggestion, Val. And we're thinking about that, and it's probably good to record that if there's an identified need. Okay. Second reading in July.
Excellent. Okay. So moving to the food service director job description.
Yes, I met with Tom O'Connor. This is a first reading of a job description. I didn't highlight some of the things that we added, but there's the big thing is that it's a 12 months per year. Tom was basing his work on, the school year, but we have grab and go activities, and there's things that happen in the summertime. So this would make it a 12-month, working in the district and consulting on a 12-month basis. This is a first reading, so we'll bring this back up at the July meeting. And Tom is already invited to our July meeting. Tom has, for the last 10 years now, has come in and met with the board, and he is our guest at the July meeting, and we can review food services and the things that are happening in that department. So this is, as I said, just a first reading. So if you have some suggestions, we can bring them up at the next meeting.
Any questions for tonight? All right, we will table that one for the next meeting. Number 5 is the cafeteria staffing for 21-22.
Yes, in the consent agenda with the food services program, when we started out at the beginning of the year, I indicated that I would probably have to drive the 3,100 account for the school lunch program into deficit spending, and that has occurred. Right now, there's a deficit in that account of $14,709.70. But the reimbursement checks, because we're not charging students for breakfast or lunch, the reimbursement checks from the federal government and the state are delayed, sometimes up to 3 months. And right now, we've collected $10,768. So that means that the actual deficit for the overall program is right now is $3,741.70. And I suspect within the next month or two, that deficit will go down to zero, because we would have collected enough money to cover some of the expenses. So I just wanted to, mention that. The other thing is, of course, we're doing the grab and go lunch and, at this summer from VES, and our head cook will be working and Tom will be helping out, but those are free pickup meals. And people won't drive to Griswold, but they'll be able to drive over to Voluntown Elementary School to pick up, a couple of days of meals, okay? So there's gonna be more coming with this. And I'll talk about the staffing issues in executive session under personnel.
Okay, moving to the Norwich Adult Education graduates.
This is just announcing that Keith Arcady and Carissa A. Champagne are Voluntown residents, and they graduated from the Norwich Regional Adult Education Program. And as you know, we have money in the budget to contribute to the adult education program. We also receive a grant from the state that's on your list of things that's returned to the town. So this is a valuable program, and I really do think that it was great that we had citizens in Voluntown taking advantage of this educational service for adult ed. That's all.
Congratulations to Keith, Katie and Carissa.
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations. Okay. Item number 7 is the Plainfield Parks and Rec Summer Camp Program, use of the parking lot.
Yes, and as you know, Mark Simmons, he was on our Youth Service Local Prevention Council. Chris probably remembers Mark, and he left. He was hired as the director of the Plainfield Parks and Rec program. He wrote a grant and included Voluntown and Canterbury, opportunities for our youth. And we've been receiving phone calls for this, but they wanted to have a pickup in the morning and a drop off in the afternoon in our parking lot. And of course, I have strict rules about building and, facilities and ground use. And, of course, I also asked for certificates of liability. If the Board of Education is approving a program, we want to make sure that all of the things are covered. And I did sign the use of the facility, but I want to, I wanted the board to take a motion to approve the school use request form for the town of Plainfield Parks and Rec to use the parking lot from July 6th through August 13th for a Plainfield school bus to pick up and drop off Voluntown campers for their summer camp programs. And this just verifies that the Board of Ed is aware of this. Of course, the other thing is that you've seen our arrivals and dismissals, and I just don't want students showing up and waiting someplace. I want to talk to Mark about having some procedures where cars will park, where the bus will stop, and where students will wait, because I do not want a bus turning into our parking lot and all of a sudden have students and adults here, there, and everywhere. It has to be, an orderly type of thing. I'm not sure how many will sign up. And oh, by the way, as I think Chris mentioned or Amy mentioned, we did vote yesterday to offer some scholarships to some of our Voluntown students residents to attend this camp. And Melinda Bryan, the YSB director, will be sending out forms. So I'd like a motion just to approve the request.
I'll make that motion.
And Valerie second it. Okay. All in favor? Motion passes to approve the school use request form for the town of Plainfield to use the parking lot for the summer camp program, pick up and drop off campers.
Adam, the other question I had was if this is potentially going to overlap with the Voluntown kind of continuing education over the summer for the Voluntown students.
Well,
and just
I'm
because I
going
know
to talk about that next. Yes.
Yeah, just if there's going to be, that might just be something that you guys have to finagle if there's going to be time overlapping. But I'm sure you guys have already.
It's probably going to be one or the other, because the pickup and drop off is earlier than our summer school and after. So the summer school occurs in between. But if there are some conflicts, that's going to have to be a family decision to make. I do know that some families who have called me look at this as a daycare potential, and they were really thrilled that this is being offered in Plainfield. It's a full day program. So that was significant for some families. But that's why the building use form, and of course, we'll review this with Amy and Brian Callio to make sure that it doesn't interfere with some of our other things that are going on.
Yeah, I think it's really unique. I've never heard of Voluntown having a summer, a summer camp program that was a pickup option. Griswold offers one, in their town, but you have to get your kid there and drop, North Stonington does a half day one. So this is a really unique opportunity for Voluntown residents and their families, if they just choose to use it. So, okay. The new item number 8 is the approval of basketball monitors.
Basketball summer enrichment program. And just a motion to appoint Joe Miller, Ed Duncan, Chuck Salter, and Nicole Vitale as enrichment basketball clinical supervisors.
Ooh.
And this is being paid for by some of our funds, but we were looking to enrich some things. And if I have to, I might be able to use some of the ESSER too, but we were looking for increased enrichment opportunities during the summer. And the basketball program that we had this past year for, a little bit was very successful. And people looked at this as a real growth experience for, some of the children who might be interested.
Do we have a motion to approve the 4 Richmond clinical supervisors?
Make a motion.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And as a follow-up to what Megan had said, we have our regular summer school program, and the summer school program is funded by a variety of sources. This is what we've been doing every summer for, I don't know, this is the 16th budget I've done, but it's a combination of some Board of Ed, funds, special ed, Title I funds, IDEA funds, REAP funds, and the total cost of our summer school is projected at $13,574 for this summer. And of course, this is really, special ed related and following through with some of the things that we want for children to maintain their progress. And that's the standard program. And then on top of that, we have a summer school ramp-up program that uses ESSER 2 funds. That's a federal grant. And, we have, some enrichment activities. We have art, music, we have English. We just approved a mini, basketball enrichment. And then we also have some individual tutoring being done, funded by the ESSER grant, but the Board of Ed has approved those other things. The basketball was just an extension. So the cost for all of that was $13,886. So basically we've doubled the number of opportunities and, for the summer school. And our regular program, and then ESSER 2 federal fund enrichment. And that's just to update your, you on what's happening.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. I do think those enrichment opportunities are, valuable to those that want to take advantage of them for sure. It sounds like there's a broad, at least what I've seen come through for my own children, interesting versions of what, going back to what Amy says, like enjoy your summer, be a kid, don't feel like you have to go to, math Mondays or, math mornings every day. So I think that's great that we're offering a variety of what seem, fun for the kids while educational. Okay, so that completes our new business items. Our upcoming board meeting is Thursday, July 8th for your calendars. regularly at 7 o'clock. We'll keep you posted on the format of that. Hopefully we'll have more direction there, but we can also talk about that a little bit more. I do want to just, before we adjourn to executive session, I did want to congratulate all the 8th grade graduates, because I know we said that started it with the excitement for the graduation, but we will, I know we're all invited to come to the graduation on Monday. Amy did say that it might be a little bit iffy on weather, so keep Tuesday open if you were planning to go. But it's just, given the year, these kids deserve a lot of congratulatory kudos for a job well done. So yay to the 8th graders. All right. At this point, we can make a motion to move to executive session. Erica.
I'll make,
Second.
or I'll second.
Oh boy. Figure it out. Okay. All in favor. Aye. Do we need, Adam, do we want to have Dee Dee